Hey there, guys. January 5th. My, oh my, oh my, do we have a lot to talk about today? We're going to talk about planes. We're going to talk about arrests. We're going to talk about Clinton. We're going to talk about Sessions. We're going to talk about Freemasons. Yeah, big day. A lot of people were expecting January 4th to have some fireworks, and I think it very well did. Lots of things we're going to discuss. Before we do, huge shout out to all of you who are helping me do this via PayPal, Patreon, crypto, grabbing the webinars, just liking, sharing, subscribing to these videos. I appreciate all of you, and hope you guys enjoyed the whiteboard video that I did on anti-gravity yesterday. That was fun. I miss doing the whiteboard videos. I'm going to be doing a lot more of those. And apologies as well for not doing that live chat that I was planning to do last night, but I will be doing that tonight. So if you got no Friday plans, come kick it with me. Be doing that later. But anyway, let's get into the news that I want to share with you guys today. So first, I want to talk about some more plane turnarounds. Every single day seems to be one or two more planes that oddly turn around. This first one that I was notified of actually came out of Seattle. Funny enough, my home area, and this one was heading to Hawaii. Now, last night, as you can see, a little bit into the flight here, it literally just straight turned around. We have no explanation for this one, but funny enough, this was a Delta flight. So if you caught my news video that I did on January 3rd, I threw my theory out there that Delta is in some way, shape, or form connected to the White Hats, and there might be some kind of back channel between them where if some very important person gets on a Delta flight, that somehow notifies said White Hats and they turn the plane around and get them. So we have another Delta flight. I mean, I kind of went through a bunch of evidence how a lot of these planes turning around are Delta flights at the Atlanta airport, Delta hub. Weird things going on, just weird things going on with Delta, period. And Delta is actually one of the only airlines that we saw combating human trafficking with their Get On Board campaign. So, again, another Delta flight. Pretty weird. But again, we don't know why this one turned around. And another flight, this one out of Alaska, flight to Anchorage. So this is a flight coming out of Chicago, going to Hong Kong, and it had to be redirected to Anchorage. And the reason this flight had to land early was because there was a man literally smearing shit on the plane, and it then had to get taken down. Now, with this one, I don't doubt that this could have been the case. I mean, if you have a dude smearing shit all over the plane, it's going to be taken down, and that's kind of a weird story just to make up as a cover story. It's a pretty funny cover story. But granted, I feel, my intuition says that this is a legit story, but the only question I have is that why, when the plane landed, was he met by FBI agents? It just seems a bit weird to me that that happened, so that's the only thing I have. But hey, man, smearing feces redirects, it just kills me. Now let's talk about this little video that was circulating around. I first saw it on Twitter, and then it was circulated on more mainstream media outlets. But a suspect was taken into custody following what they're calling a drug bust. And again, I saw this video on Periscope on Twitter, somebody's Periscope video of it. And this was in Crystal City, Virginia, mind you. So this is very close to the Pentagon, very close to a lot of very important places in Washington, D.C., and who knows? I mean, you can see there was 3 cop cars that all jammed this car. There's bullet holes, as you can see, in the window of this here. And this guy with his hands up, taken into custody. These are not police officers, mind you. It will, Jordan, will I marry you? As long as I don't have to sign anything for the government. Anyway, these aren't police officers. These are some type of feds. And, could have been a drug bust. If it was a drug bust, being in Washington, D.C. and Crystal City, it would have been a very high up there drug lord, right? But again, what if the drug bust was a cover story? Very odd place for a drug bust to occur, mind you. So a lot of weird things circulating this story. But again, in circumstances with planes turning around, with a lot of planes going to Gitmo, now we've got arrests near Washington, D.C. I wouldn't doubt if this was not actually a drug bust. Next thing I want to show you guys is this story out of the Intercept that came out on the 3rd. Huge article. It's a long one. By huge, I mean huge in both implication and in the length of it. This is a large, large expose. And the title of this one is called The Biggest Secret: My Life as a New York Times Reporter in the Shadow of the War on Terror. And this is a great expose on both the Bush and the Obama administrations on basically stifling their reporting of secret operations. This man here, James Risen, was essentially writing a short autobiography on his reporting of botched CIA operations and different NSA operations, and how when he was reporting for the New York Times, he was literally stifled, right? And you can, I'll link this down below like I link everything else that I feel is of importance to link, but long, long expose on the mainstream media, on the Bush and Obama administration. So again, guys, lots of good stuff coming out through mainstream media that I'm seeing, because I think the Operation Mockingbird days are coming to an end. So a lot of truth is able to slip out through the mainstream, and also, a lot of the deep state media outlets have also been reporting some weird things, right? I mean, yesterday I showed an article on the Washington Post of all news outlets reporting on David Brock and his corruption, right? So if the Operation Mockingbird media has been co-opted by the white hats, they have to continue the modus operandi, right? They got to keep the peace, but at the same time, change things just a little bit to start seeding it into the people's consciousness who don't quite get it yet, right? So those are just some things to keep in mind as you're reading the mainstream media. What if, right? What if the white hats took it over? Speaking of taking over, we're going to go to a couple things out of Europe here. In ITV News, so a large news agency in Britain, was evacuated live on air after the fire alarm goes off. This has never, ever happened in media, I was told. And just weird, very odd that this, during live primetime broadcast, fire alarm goes off. Weird. And they had to literally evacuate. And the anchor, Tom Bradby, was forced to tell viewers their news would not be going ahead as normal. So, what happened there? Who knows? Another thing out of Europe. Check this out. Just found this article earlier. I posted it on my Twitter right before I went live with this video. Speaking of which, if you don't follow me on Twitter, go find it. I post a lot of news stories, and it's fun, right? Twitter's fun. I saw this retweet yesterday. It was hilarious because the person was documenting the stages of Twitter addiction. And at first, you start a Twitter account, you get on it, you realize that you don't know how Twitter freaking works, then you get off for a few months, then you go back to Twitter, then you get addicted, right? It's exactly what happened to me. Anyway, Freemason leader rejects claim group is blocking police reform. And again, this comes out of The Guardian, another typically deep state media outlet, but they're actually reporting on the Freemasons rejecting that they're blocking police reform. Of course, they're blocking police reform, but what blows my mind here is The Guardian is reporting on the Freemasons' rejection of it, right? So, a leader, it says here, of England's Freemasons has stepped out of the shadows to say members of the organization have to be secretive because they're discriminated against. Now, side note, right? It's well known that the Freemasons, as a secret society, are involved in a lot of nefarious stuff. But I do want to make a note here and say that just because it's a secret society doesn't automatically mean it's bad. There's a lot of mystery schools that are keeping very esoteric knowledge secret because it's very intense knowledge. It's very intense understandings, right? And releasing all this stuff to the public, having a full disclosure all at once would shock people. They wouldn't even understand the information, let alone how to utilize it. And, it wouldn't be good for a lot of these esoteric teachings to come out all at once. So I just want to make that side note. Just because it's a secret society doesn't mean it's bad. But here, the Freemasons having to basically cover their ass. And I would imagine here that they are trying to block police reform. Next article. Egypt detains 75 people in a human trafficking probe. Great news. This storm is global, folks. Remember, Saudi Arabia had that huge corruption shakeup. I've been hearing rumors that shakeup is going to soon hit Israel, which would be great. Have a shakeup in the Mossad and a lot of things there. Of course, there's the events going on in Iran and the Trump administration now blocking funding to Pakistan, right? Rand Paul is heading some legislation to block funding to Pakistan, and Egypt as well, detaining human traffickers. Great stuff. Let's hope this storm continues to sweep the Middle East, and it's sweeping America here. I'll get into the rest of the articles. A lot of these articles you guys have probably heard of in regards to Clinton and whatnot, but we'll go over them in a minute. But anyway, the storm's hitting America, and of course, very soon, Europe, and then Asia. Still a lot of stuff to do in Asia. Granted, Asia and Russia have typically been more aligned with the alliance than the Western countries, but of course, there's still some infiltration there. But storm is global. Great stuff. Human traffickers detained in Egypt. Now let's go into a lot of the news of America. So this news story was circulated around yesterday. I have two thoughts on this. Jeff Sessions to crack down on legalized marijuana, ending the Obama-era policy. Let me rephrase that. I have three thoughts. First thought, I might have to stock up. Second thought, this might be a distraction, right? This is a great speculation I've seen a lot of people have. What if this is a big old distraction? And this will give a lot of the typically Democratic states something to chew on, while a lot of the other stuff goes on behind the scenes, right? Think of the states that have legalized marijuana: Colorado, Washington, Oregon, California, I believe New York, right? But these are typically liberal-leaning states, so it'll give them all a bunch of stuff to distract them with while everything else goes on behind the scenes. Distract them SJWs. But on the other hand, this could be a real thing, right? Jeff Sessions being from Alabama, I don't necessarily know his personal stances. This could be, he could just be, I don't want to say ignorant, but maybe just very anti-marijuana because of the way he grew up in the South, very conservative, could be a real thing. But, again, could be a distraction because it just comes days after new legalization measure took effect in California. I don't find that to be, just odd coincidence there. And speaking of distractions, we have the Bannon and Trump feud, remember? Again, could be real, but with all the circumstances going on, it just seems like that the current administration, while everything else goes on behind the scenes, and not only behind the scenes, but comes up to the forefront, they need certain distractions. And look at CNN's front page here. They're talking about Bannon and Trump. The book hits where it hurts most. So this gives, right, great actors. Someone just commented, exactly, great actors. So it just seems to be that not only is this Bannon-Trump feud, but this marijuana anti-legalization measure that Sessions is doing could be distractions. And let's moving on from these stories, enough with the speculation on these. Let's now talk about what's going on with the takedown of the cabal, right? So mind you, at the very same time that Sessions is cracking down on legalized marijuana, he appoints 17 interim top prosecutors, right? Top prosecutors. These prosecutors are from jurisdictions around the country. The interim posts are for 120 days, unless they're reappointed by Trump or the Senate. And there are many of Sessions' appointments are in Democratic-leaning states, such as New York, New Jersey, and California. Let's bring into the picture here those indictments, right? Remember those indictments? A lot of them were in California. A lot of them are in New York. So this kind of gives credence to that theory of the whole crackdown on legalized marijuana being kind of a distraction. Because again, this has been going on for months and months and months, this idea of Sessions cracking down on legalized marijuana. Well, shoot, if a lot of people in California are stoned out of their minds and distracted with this, they won't even realize that prosecutors just got appointed in their own state, and they don't even know that all these indictments are about to go down, right? So again, just connect the dots there. But with these prosecutors being appointed around the country, let's then move on into the people being taken down. So the Clintons, of course, a lot of you have probably already heard of these stories, but I'll rehash it here for any who hasn't. For the freaking 3.5 thousand people watching, that's amazing. The Justice Department investigating the Clinton Foundation over pay-to-play allegations, and the Justice Department also reopening an investigation against Hillary Clinton herself. Another investigation against the emails, right? So we have two investigations, one against the foundation, one against Clinton herself, both coming out of the Justice Department yesterday. Remember, a lot of people were very excited for events on January 4th. I think these are all the events that were planned to come out. And mind you, we still have no social media post about Hillary Clinton and her house fire, right? Both Hillary and Bill Clinton. Interesting. And that house fire comes the day before both of these investigations come out. So now, going back to yesterday, thinking about that house fire, wow, maybe it was set off purposely for some people to get in the house and find some evidence, right? Interesting. Interesting. Future proves past, right? Moving on. More classified emails found on Weiner's laptop, Judicial Watch says. So, man, let me just tell you, seems like more classified emails are found on Weiner's laptop every week. And I'm just going to say here, he must have a massive computer to be holding all these classified emails and all the kiddie porn, right? Must be a massive hard drive on that thing. But anyway, this is great news, you know, in combination with more Justice Department investigations on the Clinton Foundation, Clinton herself, more classified emails on Weiner's laptop. And isn't Weiner's laptop being held by the NYPD? This is the thought that just popped into my brain here. So with all these classified emails slowly coming out, it's like a very purposeful leak, right? You can tell that this is a massive strategy behind all of this going on. And last few things I want to share with you guys. But just as important as everything else, Trump election fraud investigations unclear after move to the Department of Homeland Security. So the work of investigating Trump's claim that millions of people voted illegally in the last presidential election are now in the hands of the officials at the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, after Trump disbanded the commission originally charged with the investigation. Now, of course, The Hill is claiming the investigation's fate is unclear, but if it's being moved to the DHS, I think it's pretty clear. Shit's hitting the fan, right? Shit's hitting the the walls of the plane and the fan. So this is great news. Things are really, really heating up. Storm is surging. Not only this, but we have a federal judge ruling that Fusion GPS has to turn over bank records. This is an article out of the True Pundit. It's great that they have McCain's worried face, you know, front page. wonder where he's at now. And I wonder how many boots he's got on his limbs. But anyway, U.S. District Judge ruled that Fusion GPS has to turn over all their bank records. So this FBI dossier that was contrived, faked basically, to give the Obama administration an excuse to spy on Trump, wasn't it? Looks like that whole house of cards is toppling. And then very last thing I want to share with you guys here, Comey's original Clinton memo release cites possible violations. And this article, again, out of The Hill, I don't know if The Hill is more centrist or if they're more liberal-leaning. Whenever they post something on Twitter, I'll scroll through the comments, and a lot of ignorant people seem to follow them. Again, I don't want to get into that whole liberal-conservative dichotomy because there's issues on both sides. It's just, it seems to be more mind control on the liberal side these days, at least in regards to politics. But this is great news because that whole Comey Clinton memo is getting completely disbanded, and this article goes through all of the removed references and things that were changed in it and all that jazz. But hey guys, Comey's getting exposed more. Fusion GPS is getting exposed more. The voter fraud's coming out. Wiener's laptop. Clinton, 2 investigations on her. We've got attorneys being appointed around the country as prosecutors, right? We've got trafficking arrests going on around the globe. Freemasons got to cover their ass. Shit really hitting the turbofan, and man, more flights, more planes. I'm seeing, lurking around the chans myself, I'm seeing a lot of weird activity that people are noticing from helicopters and more Gitmo flights as well. So, hey guys, crazy stuff going on. And it's only going to keep continuing. So I love it. I love it. So I'm so excited today. And I hope all you guys are excited because, hey, we're only what is it, January 5th? 5th day into January, and all of this is already going on. I am seriously considering doing these live broadcasts even twice a day now because morning and evening. Be your anchor twice a day because so much stuff is happening so fast, and it's all good news. So anyway, take care, guys. That's all for this one. Hope you have a beautiful Friday, great weekend, and remember, check back in later today. It'll likely be late afternoon, early evening, and I'll be back for a live chat to kick it with you guys to actually answer a lot more of these comments and questions in this live broadcast. So take care, guys. Have a good one.